I'd like to call to order our board meeting for May 24th, 2017, the Pullman School District Board of Directors. Our first item on the agenda, as always, is the flag salute, and this evening will be led by our leadership teacher, Erin Willey.
Yeah, sorry, my students are all busy tonight, so you get me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Erin. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Superintendent Maxwell, are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes to the agenda tonight.
All right, thank you.
Approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by I'm not sure who that we will approve tonight's agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Next, we have reports, correspondence, and program, beginning with the PHS ASB report.
I'll go for it.
Mrs. Willie?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, hey. So sorry, all of my fabulous kids are either FFA students or at state track or running around just being fabulous high school kids. So you get me tonight. Just a couple quick announcements. We have our new ASB all together. So we have our exec board who was here last week, and you met them, but we also have a senior, junior, sophomore, and freshman class all ready for next year. So we're going to have the final kind of hurrah for this current ASB group, and then in 2 weeks, so by the time the next board meeting, we'll have a brand new ASB for you guys. So that's so exciting. A couple things that we've kind of added to ASB this year, and this is kind of in correspondent with the leadership classes, we've added a treasurer job for each grade level. We found that I found that a lot of the kids didn't know where our money was going, and I found that very worrisome in today's society. So we added that role for each grade. We've also added a press secretary role. We have found that social media is how kids do things these days, and so we have a leadership student who's going to be the press secretary of the ASB. It's not necessarily an official role, it's more of a fancy title for him, but he's going to run that next year. So he's going to come, and he's usually going to be the one that speak at board meetings and stuff like that to be the representative. So you kind of have an elected person that is in charge of that next year. So that should be pretty nice. We are kind of ending the year. We're hoping to plan a senior breakfast before graduation. We've never done that before. The leadership class is working with that. I've had some senior parents get a hold of me if any of you are a senior parent and you're interested in helping. Putting on things for our seniors, having a quick little breakfast in celebration of them and all their achievements before they go to graduation practice. And then we get to end the year. We are going to have 8 kids go to leadership camp this summer. It's by the Washington State Principals Association. It's up at Chewelah Peak, and it's going to be a 5-day leadership camp. We earned some money, so we were able to send the kids to this camp, and we're really excited. So hopefully they can bring all that information back to us and make leadership in ASB that much stronger next year. So there we go. Not 45 minutes this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Erin.
All right. Next, we have board reports. Are there individual board reports that, okay, so I'll begin down at the end with Director Weed.
Amy, first of all, it's exciting to see more people involved and wanting to be involved in the school board. And I just want to remind people that if you're a candidate or you know a candidate, Washington State School Directors Association, WASDA.org, has candidate forums and all sorts of information for you. So check their website. They will be doing even some seminars and that sort of thing on it. So anybody who's interested, it'll help. It's like a whole new language when you get involved in this, and it takes a long time to figure out really what's going on. it's longer than 10 years, I guess, because that's how long I've been on the board. But anyway, I encourage you all to look at that. And then the Jefferson Elementary School, June 5th, is their last PTA meeting, and I guess they're having a barbecue and everything. And so I would hope that all the PTA and all the parents at Jefferson take advantage of that and get to know your Jefferson families. It's kind of neat to know that. That's my report.
All right, thank you. Director Everman?
Just speaking of PTAs, I attended the Franklin PTA meeting last week with Dr. Maxwell, and it brought back a lot of old memories. But when we went to the PTA meeting, it was up at the old Franklin, where Pioneer Center is now located. So it was just brought back a lot of old memories. And I voted for the cookie dough for next year. My vote doesn't count, but I voted for it.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Director Johansson?
Well, I'm going to talk tonight for a few minutes about a program that is really exciting, and it's not directly connected to our schools, but I'm agreed to do some recruiting for Cheryl Hansen, who's the Director of International Outreach and Partnerships. Washington State University applied over a year ago and was just recognized this fall. There's 25 Iraqi undergraduate students that are on their way here for 17 days in Pullman. They're really needing host families to host one or two of the students. My wife Bobby and I were interviewed just today. We're the first one to go through their vetting process for host families. The time of responsibility for the host families is just 2 weekends, from Friday at 4 o'clock until late 8 o'clock on Sunday. There are actually more young women coming out of the 25 than, I think the ratio is 9 and 16 for the 25. It may only be 24 because they're still having trouble with the visa process for one of the students that's scheduled to be here. The emphasis at Washington State University as a host institution, along with University of Arkansas, University of Massachusetts, and University of Montana, is public health. And the common theme for all of the 100 students, 4 universities, 25 at each, is going to be leadership, entrepreneurial spirit, civic education and responsibility, peace building and conflict transformation, diversity, tolerance, social media, information, communication, and technology. It's a diverse group from rural and urban. There's one representative of the 25 from each of the provinces, at least one from each of the provinces in Iraq. And we won't know until the opening briefing who exactly is going to be at our house. We've agreed to take 2 or maybe 3 if needed. They're from diverse socioeconomic, religious, and regional backgrounds. So we may have a mixture of even religions and so on in our midst. We've already been briefed a little bit about that we may be learning about cooking with halal meats and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a wonderful opportunity, I believe. I have some cards, and I also have the website or the email for Cheryl, and she encouraged me to spread the word because they're still looking for families that are willing to host. So thank you for the time.
What are the ages of the students?
They're undergraduates, and their emphasis is they picked public health as a theme, and then the theme that WSU was assigned was public health, and the number one choice of the students was public health. So everyone we're having here got their first choice to come, and it's going to be a mixture of course, we're growing with the university having a medical school associated, and I think it's just in keeping with new curriculum that we've even added at the high school level in health studies and public health, and so there's going to be some crossover into the idea that hunger and world hunger and sanitation. Their actual focus here is going to be on water and water conservation and water quality and so on, and just one of my colleagues on the Interscholastic Activities Council is one of those 15 that just when I was at a meeting, he was texted, and he was the 16th Airway Heights family, just moved there and built a house 6 years ago out between, he's on the Cheney Medical Lake School Board, and it was just identified, and their house was added to, it's too far away to get to either Medical Lake or Cheney's water system, and their well is no good, as you've been reading in the newspaper. So we've got situations right here with water quality and so on. So it's going to be an interesting time. The students are supposed to be fairly fluent in English, although one of the other universities that participated a year ago said that that's somewhat problematic, that there are some that aren't as good, and there's English lessons and English writing that goes on as part of their curriculum every day during the weeks that they're here. So anyway.
Thank you. Director Kinzer.
Well, thank you. At Sunnyside School, coming up on the 27th, according to the calendar, that doesn't seem right to me, but they're supposed to have a kinder concert and the Sunnyside Elementary Singers at 6:30. I'm wondering if it's accurate or not. It's a Saturday. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I'll double check.
Anyway, moving on the 29th, of course, there's no school. It's Memorial Day, remember that. And on June 6th at Sunnyside will be a move-a-thon meeting in place of the June PTO meeting at 7 p.m. And then 7th through the 9th of June at Sunnyside is the book fair. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. I visited Sunnyside for the Wax Museum. That was my first time at the Wax Museum. That was truly an extraordinary celebration of science.
Actually, what I'll do is I'll start this card around from Cheryl, and you could write down the information or email if you'd, that way you wouldn't have to wait around until the end of the meeting.
Bob, would you like to go to the podium with me?
Sure,
For this
absolutely.
part? Okay.
I can move it.
Oh, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have something really fun that we like to do once a year, which is celebrate a Teacher of the Year. And this year we changed our nomination process a little bit. School directors in Washington State are charged with how we can, in our districts, address opportunity and achievement gaps. And so we especially wanted to hear from principals about teachers who are doing great innovative things to address opportunity and achievement gaps. And we had very strong nominations from all the buildings in our district. They were wonderful to read about. What is going on. Any of these would be well deserving of a recognition, but we did have to pick one. And so that teacher is our 5th grade at Jefferson teacher, Mrs. Sandra Casanova, and I'd like to invite her up. Things about Sandra, but in particular we heard about, Craig told us about an innovative program of morning time tutoring where children who need extra help can come And WSU students who are looking, maybe pre-service teachers looking to gain experience that they need, can tutor these kids so the kids get the help. The parents who might have work schedules that, you know, it benefits them. This is a win-win program for everyone in the building in the district, and we just sincerely want to thank you for all that you've done all these years, but really celebrate your work this year with that. And you have a certificate and a card. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I just have a few quick words. First, thank you for giving me this award. I really appreciate it. Just a quick funny story, because I'm a teacher. Every time I teach expectations to my students, I tell them that I wanted to be an actress, but I ended up being a teacher, and now I get my award, so it's pretty fun. But I work in a marvelous school. I am honored, humbled, because I work with teachers that are exceptionally dedicated to our students. And I work with a wonderful principal who inspires me and our staff every day to be our best and do our best. And my daughter is right there. She's a senior this year. My 3 children have started at Jefferson, and my baby is graduating this year. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you and thank everyone that made an impact in their lives, because after all, they will always be my greatest accomplishment. Thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But you shake hands.
All right.
I'm going to
Okay.
ask Greg to come up. I want to get a picture.
Congratulations, then. Well earned, well deserved.
You don't have to say it.
Thank you.
Yes.
You 3 together?
Okay, where do you want us?
I don't ever know that kind of question.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Right downtown.
Why don't we put her in the middle? That way we can start. Yes.
Okay.
Pretty exciting. A full
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Smile.
It's going to be,
One more time. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we move on to our superintendent's report. Superintendent Maxwell.
Okay, we have several things under Superintendent's report tonight. Just a quick shout out to the PHS band concert, which was Monday night. Well done. Students did an excellent job, and just the student leadership and professionalism that they displayed was amazing. They actually put together some song choices, practiced together. It was phenomenal. So also tonight, FFA banquet's going on at the same time as the board meeting. So I did get to see the video because Ryan was helping solve the video problem, so we got to see it. So it was very well done, excellent. Hopefully we can get that posted to the website. So great things happening this time of year. Wax Museum, every school has something going on. So check out the website, and they have the list of events on the left-hand side. Construction update, PHS, we're wrapping that up. Really trying to make sure every little last punch list item is taken care of. We're doing some striping, some signage that the fire department's required that we have, some lane painting, just a little few odds and ends, and over the next few months we'll be doing the commissioning and then signing off on a completed project. So we're very excited about that. We're getting close to that, and I know Joe's really excited because one project comes to an end and another is starting. So with that, Kamiak Elementary, I'm happy to report that actually they were moving some dirt today. So that's the 3rd day that they've moved dirt on the site. And of course we have Design West here tonight, so I won't steal their thunder with their presentation, but we'll see that tonight. Moving on, we have Linda Sagan, who is going to give us an update on the Jefferson food pantry. So Linda, come on up to the podium. And I will pull up
Okay.
the PowerPoint here.
While you're doing that, I want to thank you for inviting me here to talk about the food pantry. I'm so excited about it, and I'm also nervous to talk in front of people. And I already just run hot already. So if you don't understand something, I will try to slow down. But so the title is Jefferson and Franklin Weekend Snack Pantry Program. However, I just want to make it clear that this pilot program is a model that is not just limited to Jefferson and Franklin. What we want to do, and this pilot program is targeted to do, is be the model, be the roadmap, so that we have it in place, so that we can slide it right into any of our schools, especially our new one. And with that, we can. So I'm Linda Sagan, parent PTA at Jefferson, and what you didn't see on that top was just the bag of what the pantry bags look like. So calm down. So back up a bit. So when the Wellness Committee met, one of the things that was identified was having a food pantry available to students, because we all know research is out there, and from our personal experiences and times, that if children are not properly fed, they lose their mind. They can't focus in school. They can't do simple math. There's behavior problems. And so Dr. Maxwell asked Jefferson to pilot this program with a goal that when the new school, Kamiak, gets built, there will be a spot for a food pantry. So in mid-February we met, we drummed up some paperwork. We wanted to identify what was important and what were the barriers, and how can we make this as simple as possible with the most being effective and keeping it so that we kept dignity and pride and focus on the children. So when we did this, I felt like we had to launch it this year, because we didn't want to lose momentum going into the next school year to go, okay, by the time we meet and everything, it's like mid-October, and we had kids hungry from now. So we did that, and in the process of doing that, and as you know, go-getters with a big heart, this group, this whole committee, everybody working on this are all go-getters with a big heart. And a go-getter with a big heart from Franklin stepped in, and because we are a pilot program that wanted to capture our process so that we can be there to facilitate and just basically put it on cruise control for the other schools to just go, yep, we're doing it, we're here, we're going to help you. And we were there to help with paperwork, questions. Franklin toured the Jefferson one, help with all, since we already had forms and paperwork, all that stuff, boring stuff, all aside, done with. They launched, and I think this is their second week. Their third week. This will be their third week, which is exciting because we're going into a long weekend. We know that's even stretches it. There's programs out there called 96 hours. So from the time a kid has lunch on Friday until they can have breakfast on Monday, it's 96 hours. And that's a really long time for kids to not have food. So on to the next slide. And so that is part of, so then we all kind of got together, we laid the groundwork to think, what can we do? What is our vision? And really it is just provide additional food to students in need, okay? So then we have, because we know that we want to come together as community, and part of our community is our teachers, our just business owners, parents, everyone. We all work together helping the teachers, and how we help them is we get the students ready to learn. And you know what? It's just like my friend says, if a flower doesn't bloom, go to the soil. We're going to the soil. We're digging in, nutrition. So, so part of this We're gonna go, oh, I'm sorry, you can go back to the free and reduced lunch. So before we know where we're going and what vision we're meeting, we need to go back to where we're at. And just to kind of review real quick, so in the last 4 years, as I'm just gonna focus on Jefferson because that's the school that I'm the parent at, you can see a steady increase in the amount of free and reduced lunch recipients, and we don't see that trend going down. I mean, maybe it may stagger up and down, but we don't see it going down. And so this program is a very proactive program. And currently, we have, so sometimes, like, I'm not a percent person, so on the next slide, we have, out of the 487 students at Jefferson, that's 170 students that get this program, that get the free and reduced. Now, currently, out of that 487 students, only 10% are enrolled in our program. However, because we are proactive and we see that this need is going to continue as this program gets rolling and the steamroll, and it just keeps going, that it's going to grow. So that 10% could be as high as, we could be potentially up to those kind of numbers. So percent-wise and actual number of sweet little student-wise, that's what we're looking at. And people have asked, why do a pantry at school when there's the food bank? And here's the thing is, and are we duplicating what the food bank has already available? What we're doing is we are working together because this gets food directly in the hands of students. And sometimes there are barriers at home, barriers in the family circumstances, where it be travel, where it be scheduling in their work schedule, or times that the food bank is open that if they miss that opportunity, they don't have it. And for instance, there's a child in our program that has to switch from parent to parent each weekend. So when they're with this parent, they don't have food. When they're with this parent, they do. So this child comes to school on Monday angry, sad, just fumes. And so the fact that she can get food for her kid and have it in a bag, take it when he goes to the other parent, that's something. I don't care, that's one child, job's done. We're cruising now. So for the weekend snack pantry, the reason why we had it a snack pantry is because we are dealing with elementary students. And with elementary students, we didn't want to have things that they had to prepare because age-wise, we're not having them cook on the stove yet. So we wanted to mitigate our liability and getting them sourced to healthy snacks. And the terrible thing about having food insecurity or not having enough is you having enough and your siblings not. So in this group brainstorming thing, we had younger siblings be included because if you got one and the rest don't, it just kind of sucks. So we did that, and then what we did was we had our food director, we had food safety expert, we had our actually the hospital nutritionist look through a list of fruit of as healthy of a snack as we can come up with and keep a budget. So we trimmed it down. We trimmed it down to which I'm jumping ahead. So I'm just we're gonna talk about on the next one, who runs the snack pantry. So again, this is go-getters with a big heart community. So we have PTA parent volunteers and school staff and teachers. And in particular at Jefferson, when the staff heard that we were doing this, they got together and pulled their money together and bought the snack pantry a refrigerator so that we can store our refrigerated cheese, our fruit, so that we have this for the kids. So thank you for that. And then we have community members stepping in. Kiwanis is in. They're in helping pack the food. They want to work with us for donations. We have the YMCA. We have church volunteers, and we have current and retired WSU professionals stepping up, helping us in all areas. And what are these areas? So the next one, community support, funding, and donation. So I've broken it down to two sections of community support. And this one, so when people come up to me, gosh, this is a great program, how can I help? And I said, oh, yeah, you're right here. You can be here, where we have a grant writing team where we scour the internet for grants. We ask businesses here, and we find and we work together with community system programs that are already here. So these are some, again, you see the repeat of the same people that are involved, but I felt it very strong to reiterate, because we are a community, and all of these are in our community, and everybody in there helps with this. And so to me, it's really important to have everybody involved. And so far, just this year alone, we have donations from PTA parents. We have Pullman Education Foundation. We just got a scholarship from the Meter Group, which used to be Decagon, and community members and church. And so on to the next one. In our community support, this is my favorite because it's the food source, and I'm not really techie, so the arrows are everywhere. So, so for this weekend snack pantry, this is what we've done. Backyard Harvest wants to work with us, and we are working with them. So what we do is we sort fresh fruit with them, and so then we do that on Thursday, and so we alternate with Franklin. They do it 1 week, we do it 1 week. And then the after-school program at YMCA washes these fruit. So there you go. So then we relieve the YMCA's involved, and then we give a portion of that fruit to the YMCA program. Kids in our schools receiving fresh fruit. Yum. Win-win for everyone. And then we have our Community Action Center, where we work with them when we want them in place for the case of emergency, a case when we are low in funds, a case when we don't have something. They are going to step in and help us. And we don't just want to take. Our school has food drives during art fairs, during science fair, during open houses. Anytime we have parents and goggle people coming into our school, we're having a food drive. And we ask for specific things for the snack, but if we don't get it, we send it to the Community Action Center. We have a credit. Anytime we need stuff, we need it. Like this, since this is a long weekend, they're giving us oatmeal, they're giving us extra snack because they have it, and they have a program. They called up, they said, hey, we have this. You got a long weekend. I went to go get it. Perfect. And so next year, we're going to work with Second Harvest, because they are able to get food at a reduced cost, which means we save money and we can reach more kids and we can spread it through our other schools. So wonderful thing. And Northwest Harvest is a group of all of these, from Community Action Center, Backyard Harvest, YMCA, churches, food banks around the area. And they form a coalition, the Whitman County Food Coalition, where we say, okay, we've got this farm, we've got this, we glean with this, so that, and then we get it to where the communities need it. And the coolest thing is, when I went to this meeting, the mayor of Rosalia approached me to ask, how did you get this into your school? What did you do? So she brought back our paperwork, all the stuff that we worked on, and she brought it to their PTA, because she could not figure out how this was going to go about. But they have a huge need there, huge need. And so their PTA is on it. So they're taking care of that. So we are spreading what we're doing. And so on the next one, we have, in particular, so what does this look like? So it's like, okay, if you walk into Jefferson, you're gonna see us kind of separated into two areas, but mainly on Friday is our really show, because from 11 to 12, we pack the bags. Then we have awesome volunteer. We have two sections, so that if the reason why this is on there is like, so if you want to start it, or if you feel like gravitate towards the procurement of food, distribution of food, you're not left out. Or if you really like writing and you can get money for us, we want you there too. So so we have that, and we stock the pantry, and then they pack it, and then to be least disruptive to children, and so that they can have some, so it's discreet. We take it when they go to lunch to the classrooms. And then the awesome teachers put it into the young ones' backpacks, and the older ones, we make sure that they get it into the backpacks. And then our awesome volunteers also look at the dates, they rotate the inventory, they let us know what we need and what they think that, what would be helpful. So we are all working together, we collaborate, they have a say, and when they have a say, they want to continue. And we have an awesome team right now already working on that. And this is what it looks like. So we have apples, and then we have a variety of snacks, and we work in our little PTA room right now, but that's what we have. And the next one, so you're curious, what gets sent home? And so, of course, we are very careful with food allergies and such, and Dr. McCurdy helped us with figuring out, for food safety, how it should be handled, everything. So we have a list here, and in addition, with the supplemental food and the hygiene products, we have lentil bags that were donated, and so we're able to give these out that are already in a mix. So in addition to snacks, we are sending home food that can feed the whole family. And time to time, when we get donations, we were able to give toothbrushes out 2 weeks ago, and a parent of a 5th grader said it was just in time because he had an extra toothbrush to bring to 5th grade camp. I about lost my marbles. I was crying. Lost my marbles. So anyway, there you go. And so future goals. And for us, and when I speak it's not just me, it's everyone on this committee, that we want to have every school in the school district have some sort of a food pantry. And it may look different in middle school and high school because those guys can cook for themselves. So the items that you see in there or how it is distributed may look different, and we have models to look after from schools, so it may look different, but we want to have something. And then we want to continue to work in a community outreach where we match up people who are willing to help, go-getters with a heart, with the ones in need, which are our children. So with that, a go-getter with a heart, I conclude. And I just would leave it up to any questions or comments that the board or anyone has. And I wanted to.
Did you know a school that was doing this, or you just came up with this idea on your own?
I got some help from the Moscow Middle School counselor. Moscow has a program, and then I also called one in Maine, and also scouring literature online. If you just Google it, they have. And then what we did was we Frankenstein all of these programs and then made it work in Jefferson. Now you may see, you walk into Jefferson's, it looks different than Franklin's, and it looks different than Sunnyside's maybe, or up here. But again, we're flexible, we're gonna work with it, and we are a team that wants to help transition kids in need with food and supplies. And
Thank you so much for
I don't do it alone.
go-getting with a heart. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yes.
What about the summertime?
Well, we've discussed that, and that is a future, because I'm watching and I'm volunteering and I'm stalking Mary Collins of the Albion food program, and I think you guys have seen it in the news. They were able to get a grant, and with the help of this Northwest Harvest, of a team of all of us kind of helping, and some go-getter in that city, in the town, they're having a school lunch program. And so I encourage anybody who would like to help make sandwiches, because by July they're going to have a burnout of volunteers. So she asked me to say, come July, call Albion, because there's going to be people who will travel, people who can't do it every day, but they have around 25 kids that are enrolled in that program. And so I'm hoping to see the thing that works, that Mary says in Albion, is it's flat, it's small. Everybody can bike to that centrally located program. Here, we would have to go on a larger scale, which if it was up to the kids going down, where would we have them meet? Where would we take, if it was, so even if we had the program, if the kids couldn't get to the program, but if you're enrolled in the YMCA, they have a summer lunch program, and it's part of this Northwest Harvest collaborative work that they're doing of this Whitman Food Coalition. So we've got our, we're stocking it, but right now we don't have one for summer. That's a really good question. Yeah, because we need
Linda,
that
I think
too.
we have one more.
Oh, yes.
I was wondering if people wanted to support food pantries in school, like, I realize that the Jefferson and Franklin ones are separate. Do they have to make separate donations to Jefferson and Franklin PTA, or is there a way to?
So we've actually been sharing the funds.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we started it earlier than Franklin, and so, but once someone stepped up to run Franklin, we, as Jefferson PTA, we made a donation to them.
Yes,
So
for
they
their
could get
startup.
their started.
Mhm.
And then any funds now that we procure, any grant funds or donations are going to be split
Split.
between.
So what would happen was in April, when it was just us, we have a small grant writing group. And once we found out that Franklin was coming on board, we halted it because we didn't want to
Exclude them.
we wanted to make sure that we included whoever wanted to come aboard so that we didn't get all the funds. And then when they go to ask, they wouldn't have it. But that's why we want to have it collaborative. And next Thursday night, if you're available, Daily Grind at 7 o'clock is our jumping off meeting. And it's got community members. It's got Franklin. It's got Jefferson. And so we're committed. So we're all going to work as a team. And like we said, we are a pilot and we are a model and we want to be the roadmap. So we want to be there to share funding, share resources, to introduce you who we're working with, and such as the fruit sorting. It's not just one school doing it. So what happens is, so when Franklin gets it, they bring fruit to us and then they take it to Franklin. And then when we sort it, we take some to Franklin, and then we take some to us. So then that way, we don't tire out our volunteers, for one thing, because I love job sharing, and I want everybody to have, if everybody has a piece of the program, then they feel like they're making a difference, and they are invested. So,
So you make your
Sunnyside's
check.
actually-
yes, we're meeting with Sunnyside tomorrow. Shelley's in the house, and so tomorrow we're walking. What better way than we're gonna meet at Jefferson, and we will show them around, and then they'll actually see it go live how we do it. So, yeah.
So you make your check to like Pullman Education Foundation and just
No.
put on it's for the pantry, or do you send a check to the PTA or?
PTA. right
Yes,
now.
PTA right now, and if you want to say you want it split for the schools, we can, and that is a decision next week. We will come across and figure out too. So, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you very much, Linda. I wanted to say
Welcome.
thank you very much. Next up, we have PHS Bridge to College course report from Danielle DeMartin, our Bridge to College course teacher this year. So,
Hello, I'm Danielle DeMartin. I'm an English teacher here in Pullman. I'm really excited about this course and what I found with it this year, so I'm excited to come talk to you a little bit about it. I'm going to try and keep my comments very brief though, so if you have more questions, definitely let me know. So last year I read and did some research about the Bridge to College course. And then after reading about the curriculum, I went up and observed Jen Hargrave, who is a former English teacher here in Pullman. I observed her Bridge to College course in Davenport, where she's teaching now. We talked a little bit about how the course had been going, the units she had selected and why, tips she had, and we also discussed the fit of Bridge to College in Pullman, since she had that background. I talked to her a little bit about her community of practice participating schools that she was working with in the Bridge to College curriculum as well. And she said that they had all decided to pilot the course that year as their non-AP senior English option. So I asked her how she thought that would work here in Pullman, and she thought that it would be a good fit for kids because of the content as well as the rigor of the course and how you could differentiate it. So I came back, talked to Bob and Joe, and we decided to go ahead and pilot it that way and see how it would go. So we've done that this year. I have 3 sections right now. I've had an increase over the course of the year, so more students have enrolled in the course. And I had the curriculum, that they're kind of showing there is incredibly interesting. It's mostly nonfiction based, and it's aligned very much to what students will do when they get to English 101, because the whole idea of the course is it bridges that gap between high school and college. So some of the things we learned from the pilot this year, I think and I've talked to the English department about this, I think we feel like we still need a middle of the road kind of course option for our students. So we'll still offer AP next year as a senior option. We'd have our regular senior English course that we'd bring back as kind of a middle of the road option. We'd offer Bridge to College for kids, because it's really designed for L2 students, so students who scored a level 2 on the English Language Arts Smarter Balance Assessment. And so we feel like we'd be able to support those L2 students more effectively if the course is more focused on them. So middle of the road option for kids that are not quite in that gap that we're trying to cover, but kids that need that focus a little bit more. We'll also still offer our business comm course as well for other students. So they'll have various options that they could choose for that senior English credit. So that's kind of what we're looking at for next year based on how things went this year. Right now we have 26 scores in for the spring English Language Arts Smarter Balance Assessment, and I cannot remember off the top of my head how many of those are L2s. That might be all the L2s, I can't remember. But I've been working with Kelly to try and enroll those L2 students in my Bridge section, and right now it looks like we have at least enough for one section. Those kids, of course, would be able to choose a different English option if they wanted, but we're trying to design it a little bit more to fit their needs. One of the really exciting things that I got to do this year as part of the curriculum is work with English 101 professors at community colleges, universities, both private and public, around Washington, really close to us. So mostly Whitworth, Spokane Community College, WSU, and we talked to their writing directors as well, not just the staff in the English 101 programs. And I was really excited about how well this course does align to what they'll do in English 101. One of the things we found that's consistent across all the universities that we talked to is in English 101, it's not lit analysis. When they go there, they're learning to write arguments, they're learning to deconstruct articles, that sort of work. So working with nonfiction is really much more relevant directly to the skills they'll have when they get to English 101. The units that are up, I'm not going to go over them in detail. They're just there if you want more information. I selected them by looking at the end of unit essay assessments to make sure that as we progress through the year, their skills would build. And then from there, I looked at making sure they aligned thematically, so within each unit, they would get a deeper understanding of whatever we were talking about. Part of the curriculum requires you to do 2 books, 1 nonfiction and 1 fiction. And I surveyed my students just to kind of see how they felt like this course went. We're in our last unit right now, so I surveyed them right before we started. So they hadn't started this unit at that point. But at that point, Into the Wild, which is a nonfiction book if you have not read it, was their favorite. It's more contemporary. It's a very interesting story. I had students engaged in that I've had as sophomores that would sit back and not engage at all in the English class, and they were actually engaged, offering insights. And that's what the design of the course is to prep them for going to college. The majority of my class 2 at the beginning of the year, I cannot remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I do have the survey results that I could share at any point if you wanted, were unsure about what they wanted to do after high school, and then that flipped to the majority feeling comfortable going into an English 101 university course. So that's pretty significant. Again, that's the intent of the course, is to grab those kids, give them confidence, give them the skills that they need to bridge that gap. So I do feel like it was successful. I really enjoyed teaching it. I'm sorry, Julie, I'm going to point you out. Julie's in my Bridge to College English class. And she actually said, at one point, I don't know if you remember this, but when we did the racial profiling unit, she said, this is really relevant to right now, and I'm glad we're talking about it. And that's not something you get to do in English courses. Generally, we are focused on literature, we're reading a lot of dead white guys, which they have their merits, but at the same time, being able to talk about real world problems that kids are struggling with and they're about to go deal with in society and have to think about what their claim is, what evidence they have to back that up, that's useful whether they're going to college or not. But I just found them, you know, I've taught the regular senior English course before too. I love literature, obviously, because I'm an English teacher. It's really hard to get them to engage in that literature. They don't love literature, but having a course that's mostly nonfiction, dealing with current relevant issues to them, was very engaging. And we had some pretty cool conversations, and I got to see some really neat work from them throughout the year. So that's how we would pilot it different next year. I don't know if you have more questions for me, but that's kind of my basic overview of how things went and what we do differently. But,
No, but that's exciting that
Yes.
you're giving kids that feel that they can handle it when they go on.
exactly, I was so excited about that. I brought back, after those meetings with the universities, I gave them a summary of how the course kind of aligned with English 101 and what they could expect. And I was able to go through and point out, in this unit, when you did this, that's the exact assignment you're going to do in English 101. When you did this, that was, you know. And so being able to show them that direct connection was wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just excited about how many seem to feel more confident heading into college. But yeah.
Have you been in a dialogue back and forth with Jennifer through the year to kind of gauge the ups and downs of the first year?
Early in the year, part of this Bridge to College program is that you work with a community of practice. So you're assigned a group of teachers in your area who are also teaching Bridge to College, and then once a month, you're supposed to meet 5 times throughout the year. You go up and you meet with them for the day, and you look at the curriculum. You try to teach the same things, even so that you can compare and share extra resources that you're adding. And so it's similar to the collaboration we do here on our collaboration days, but it's with other people that may be teaching at a bigger school or a smaller school. And most of my partners were really interesting to work with. They work at a alternative school up in Spokane. And they have a really interesting way that they've set their alternative school up, so just hearing about that and the structure of that was really cool. And then, like I said, the majority of our meetings, we were meeting with those university partners and looking at the curriculum and talking about the alignment, and yeah, so I talked to her early, but later in the year it was mostly just my community of practice
Well, that
people.
was of interest to me to hear about that support.
So.
It's fabulous.
How is the reading material accessed online or hard
Some of it,
copy, or-
it's, so the books we have copies of, which the Bridge to College curriculum or grant covered. So those we have hard copy books for, and then the rest of the stuff you get a huge binder. I should have brought it down to show you, of all the different units you can pick from, and within that they've already done the copywriting and all of that, and so they give you either hard copies or you get a link and make copies of it. So my students, annotating is huge for critical thinking and just really pulling an article apart, and so I like to give them the hard copy so they can write it, tear it apart, and that sort of thing.
On your assessment, what is a response essay?
So responding to the content of what we read. So for example, that's Into the Wild, isn't it? Yeah. So with Into the Wild, have you read that novel before? It's a nonfiction book about Chris McCandless, who was a young man that didn't really feel like he didn't agree with society in terms of the ways that we use money and what people value and getting away from one another and what technology was doing to people. And so he went to college because that's what his parents wanted him to do. But after college, he decided to go out and try and connect with other people and kind of live his life the way he wanted to. He ended up going on a great Alaskan Odyssey and dying because of choices he made. And so the story connects well because we talk about brain development and adolescence and all of that. But it's kind of a mystery. You're trying to figure out why he did what he did and what kind of person he was, and that's the essay prompt. And so they're responding to that and saying, from the things that Krakauer's put in the book and from the perspective or bias that he's presented here, this is what we can tell, this is what we can't. And then they kind of assert their claim for who they thought he was as a person based on the evidence in the text and the argument constructed. So, responding
Great
to the story.
introduction to a wonderful author.
Yes, he is wonderful. Yeah, I got to show them, this book is great, you should read this one. Yeah, and I think a lot of them might choose to. They really liked that book.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for volunteering to do that, bringing that to Joe.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Here's your section.
Okay.
The next portion of the agenda is the visitors section. This part of the agenda is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board will go to the microphone and state their name and address prior to presenting their information. Visitors are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. The board will listen but will not discuss the topic at this time. The board may consider moving the topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. And we do have, for those who were not here last time, we do have this new visual timer, and I now know how to reset it as well. So we're making advances all the time. So if you're not familiar with this timer, it will be 80% green, 15% yellow, and the last 5% red. So when you see the red, you know you need to wrap it up. With that said, our first visitor this evening is Jenny Harder.
I just feel like I can't stop. Really, that's what I mean. So I'm Jenny Harder, 1515 Southwest Casey Court. And I want to say, once again, if you have not met with your board members, they're really nice in person. Super nice.
You're nice in person too.
Thanks. I feel like I'm like the community knowledge collector, and so I just wanted to bring something to your attention that I have been hearing today so that you guys can go, oh, okay, this is what the community at large is currently discussing. We heard Linda's amazing thing about food pantry, and I think the boundary issues have kind of led into this as well, is that we're looking at kids in our school district as individuals that are more than just an educational background, etc. That's kind of what the community is going for. And I really apologize because you're at the political helm where people are like, we better look at that closer. So currently there's a hubbub that 25,000, and this is a rumor, so please, this is your chance to like nip it in the bud. Communicate. There's a rumor that $25,000 was spent on math training that went to people from Riverside School District. I see, right? But wouldn't you rather know this now? See, before it goes out of control, and there's other things, for 3 days of math training. And I think Pullman is a very frugal town, and so people live off pizza pipeline prices from like 1990. So when they think of value, they think, gosh, well, that would have cost 75 cents a slice. And so what would I spend my 75 cents on? Would I spend it on a beer or a slice of pizza? People have things they choose. And so currently your community is equating their 75 cents of food to the support that they could give to the individual children within the classrooms and the teachers within the classrooms. And they might view $25,000 worth of training as a non-immediate thing. So I'm just putting it out there for you because I've heard from multiple people. So there you have it. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, if we don't hear about it, we can't reply to it. So
I'm trying
thank
to be
you.
open with it.
Yep.
All right.
So this is a first.
Next we have Stephanie Bray.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Stephanie Bray. I'm a teacher in the Pullman School District. And do I need to state my address?
Please.
1135 Northwest Eden Drive, Pullman, Washington. So my address tonight is to the board as well as the community. First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm going to read from my notes because I want to make sure I get everything. I want to begin with a question. What is a teacher? In terms of a traditional school teacher, of course, teachers have credentials, we have knowledge, we have experience, etc. But what is a teacher really? We're more than that. A teacher is kind, compassionate, empathetic, positive, a relationship builder, and a person who inspires. I also want to acknowledge that a teacher being paid to teach is not the only teacher in that child's life. Parents, community members, Principals, brothers, sisters, families, etc., are also teachers in a child's life. As teachers, we all lead by example. And recently I've just felt the urge to speak, and if we're all teachers, I hope that we also acknowledge that kindness is spread, that we have the ability to build up relationships and not tear them down, that we have the ability to inspire those around us, both children and adults. And we can see that tonight with the food pantry, that it's inspiring. So coming together as a community is very important. A community of parents, educators, board members, administration, community members, students, and children. Our children learn from us, whether you're being paid to be a teacher, or whether you're their parent, or whether you're their YMCA teacher. They learn from all of us as adults. We're mentors and windows into their world. What they hear, they repeat. What they see, they want to do. And everyone here has students, and that's why we're all here. There are hearts. That's why we care so much. That's why you're here tonight. And we're a community. And tonight I want to say that all of us are teachers, and we inspire youth and each other. There are two different roads that can be taken. We can all inspire children and adults around us to build bridges, be positive, seek first to understand, to be kind, or we can inspire the opposite, negativity or division. So tonight I'm also going to end with a question. I ask, who will be inspired by each of us tomorrow and in the future? And what will that message be?
Thank you.
All right. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? Going once. Going twice. Last call. All right. That concludes the visitors section of the agenda. Next, we have the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes, personnel report, warrants, ASB fundraisers, a new ASB club, transfer requests, overnight field trip requests, and acceptance of a Pullman Education Foundation grant, or grant fund. Grants, plural, excuse me. Okay, so those are the items on the consent agenda this evening. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda as distributed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as distributed. Any further discussion? Okay, in that case, all those in favor?
Aye.
It looks like no one is opposed, so the consent agenda is approved. We have one action item on the agenda tonight, which is the 2017-2018 board meeting calendar. Superintendent Maxwell, do you have anything to say?
Well, it's been very quiet on feedback from the draft calendar. I have not received any. I don't believe Shannon's received any as well. So we're presenting the drafted schedule from our last meeting for your consideration for approval for the 2017-18 school year. And I can pull that up if you'd like to see that.
I think that's a good idea.
Just a second here.
There's more eyes on it are better. So the main change since, oh dang it, my thing just went down. The main change since last time was that Shannon put the to be determined items at the bottom.
There we go. So this is the draft calendar that was submitted last time, which has our work sessions, which alternate between schools, and the bolded dates would be our board meeting dates.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
I move approval of our calendar for 17, 18.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2017-2018 schedule of board meetings. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Looks like no one is opposed, so that schedule is approved. Next, we have our discussion items.
Here's Joe.
Yes, beginning with our Director of Operations, Joe Thornton, to present on a resolution to accept and approve Kamiak Elementary School Constructability Review Report.
Then I have Ned Warnick from Design West Architects up here with me because he will actually present the bulk of this. Constructability review is a requirement of school projects, and in a nutshell, it is a review of that design by architects, by builders, by engineers, to make it to make sure that the school district's not going down a rabbit hole with the building that's being constructed. So Ned will explain that. This does require a resolution, and we are asking that not only you consider this tonight, but you move it to an action item as well. So with that, Ned Warnick from Design West Architects.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I have the same passion or excitement that the Pantry project does.
No.
But I am happy to report we do have space for the Pantry program in the news.
Yeah.
So thank you, and a lot of that has to do with Bob and Joe encouraging us to go that direction. So my presentation doesn't have that same energy or that excitement or maybe that moral imperative, but we're excited about what we have to present tonight nonetheless. So the first item, the constructability review, it is in your board package. Joe was suggesting that I go through item by item. I believe there's 50 pages here, and there's probably an average of about 5 to 10 items each page. So if we could go down that road, or I could just give you the brief summary. As Joe explained, this is essentially a peer review. So other architects, contractors, engineers, and project managers review this, review our construction documents, the role is right there, and go through, and essentially it's a quality control and a peer review of our work. Of the items, I would say a vast majority of them were, thank you, yes, we'll get that corrected. There was a minority of them that were the CSG, the constructability review team, didn't understand or didn't find the information that was already in the documents, which even that is important to us because then we realized that maybe the contractors couldn't find it either. So it was a fruitful process, and we appreciate that extra effort that the team did. And we have now accommodated with the documents that we're asking to go to bid with next week. We have accomplished all these corrections that are shown in this. And so in reality, it may look like a daunting document. It's really dotting I's and crossing T's, and then us replying saying that we did dot the I and cross the T. So constructability review is relatively simple, straightforward, procedural item. Is that you that's
Would you like me to scroll through all 75 pages?
Really, I'd rather not. Is it 75 pages?
It's close.
It started at 50 when they gave it to us, but my explanations drove it longer. So the next item, and I have it in PowerPoint format, or we could just do it using the PDF. Bob, do you have a preference? Since you already have the PDF up, I'd like to stick with that. Down, the
summary.
No, that's the next item.
That's the next item. I don't see
You have to wait your turn.
I don't see the PowerPoint in here.
For constructability or for design?
For the design.
Yeah, that's
PowerPoint.
the next item.
So do we want to dispose?
Yeah, so
Sorry.
that's all right. So summary constructability review is like peer review. Now, it was certainly a critical process for the high school, and I remember during constructability, there were engineers and architects standing out there in the old building with a set of plans in their hand and scratching their head and wondering, how the heck is this going to happen? And they gave some really critical insight on that. This, a very different project starting from scratch. This is not the first rodeo for Design West, but it was great to have that peer review. So again, presenting that to United and if possible, moving that to an action item. Questions?
No, I remember sitting in on the construction review for the high school too, and these guys, I mean, they spent days going through everything, so, and they're professionals, I mean, that's what they do.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, if they haven't found it, it should be okay, right?
Right.
We'll hold you to
Go with
that,
that.
Ned, yeah, okay.
Well, I think I might mention just that actually the construction management team that we use has actually pioneered the process and is now required at least of building schools, I believe, if not all state construction projects, both the commissioning process and constructability. And the first, we're familiar with it because the first east of the mountains school that was built using the process by the people that pioneered it out of the Educational Service District in Vancouver was the rebuild of Lincoln Middle School. And it's really, really served us well since then, particularly, as you mentioned, Joe, when we're building around students and education processes and existing buildings, but certainly had validity in this case too. So where are you?
Would you like to move it to an action item?
Yeah, I have great faith in the process, and if you're willing, Madam
Yeah,
President.
I think it's a great idea.
Right. We've lost a lot of time to weather and so on, and we want to get those bids out there. So I would move to move acceptance of the process to an action item.
I will second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we move this item from discussion to action. Is there any discussion of that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Looks like everyone is in favor. So this item is now an action item.
I move to approve the recommendation to proceed to bid on the Kamiak Elementary. Is that the right one?
No.
No,
Resolution 6.
Fine.
One before.
Okay.
resolution.
I move that we approve Resolution 161709. Sorry.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 161709 to accept and approve the Kamiak Elementary School Constructability Review Report and implementation. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? No one is opposed, okay. My laptop has died, I'll now be reading from the screen, so.
So the next topic tonight has to do with getting authorization to proceed to bid. A lot more interesting than constructability, not nearly as interesting as a food pantry. But this is an opportunity for Design West to kind of give you an update on the design of the building, give you some more examples of materials. And again, with this item, because we want to go to bid, we are asking that this also get moved to an action item tonight. So with that, again, Ned Warnick from Design West Architects.
Thank you. Good to be back at the podium. One of the exciting things, I didn't have it since we actually submitted this into the board package last Thursday. My coworker, Sam Gregg, was out on site today watching the beginnings of the early grading package. So we finally have dirt that is dry enough that we can move it around. And so this picture right now looks similar in the background, but the foreground is actually raw dirt right now with a small Caterpillar tractor tracking back and forth, checking moisture levels. But I'm assured by the contractor that we'll start seeing substantial earth movement, if not tomorrow, then likely the day after. And so we will start seeing some major motion on the site. So that early grading package is just a preparatory step, and so it is coordinated with the developer, and it's necessary for us to try to get to the point where we can actually build the school, but it is a separate contract package from the one that we are asking to have authorization to go to bid tonight. And so if we could advance. So the things that we're looking at tonight is we'll talk about the final construction document presentation, constructability review, and the authorization to proceed to bid. So really, in terms of the details of the site, really very little has changed even since schematic design. So there's been things that have pushed and shoved a little bit, but in terms of Cherokee Drive, which will not be extended past this point until the subdivision extends, but Cherokee Drive in this direction, the main entry with a parent drop-off loop, bus drop-off loop, and the major parking space, and this building, and the lower grades playground are all on one terrace. So this is up at street level. The site drops off very steeply to the west, and so down about 5 to 6 feet is the upper grades playground. So it'll be blacktop. There is a play structure on the site. There's a spot for a greenhouse down at this level. And then at the lowest level is a play field large enough for Parks and Rec to have up through 5th grade soccer at this site. So unlike Franklin, this will actually have its own play field like Sunnyside and Jefferson. So Parks and Rec program will work there. And during recess, kids can go down there and play. In terms of the idea, if you can try to picture the way that Lincoln is, so the soccer field is below the parking lot. So there's a gentle slope. It's a slope that it's probably not a lot of fun to mow, but it does get mowed. So that's kind of the steps from this terrace to this terrace to this terrace are those kind of slopes. The back slope from there on down to the west is very steep. It's about as steep as we can get the grass or the soil to stand here on the Palouse. And my local example of that is if you think of the backside of Franklin, if you look out the south side of Franklin, you look up at that slope, that's the sort of slope that we'll have on this backside. You really won't see it from the street or from the school because it's dropping away from you. So that's the site really has not changed at all. The thing that I'm most excited about tonight is actually right here. That's our pantry. The admin suite. It came along late in the process, and I shared the belief that it was something important for us to have. I have to admit that there was like, where are we going to squeeze this in? But now, tonight, I know exactly why we went to that work to go ahead and squeeze that in. And so we do have space for pantry storage in the building. The kind of lighthearted banter aside, the building really has not changed that much. There's still the main entry. Straight ahead is the library. Off to the right is academic support. Ahead and to the left is special education, and right at the front door is the whole administration suite. Then as we move down the hallway, we have clusters of 4 classrooms, so kindergarten classrooms, first grade classrooms, and then what we call the big box, the special events end, which is securable and closest to the parking lot. After hours use of the building will likely congregate around the gym and this hallway area, but for music events and things like that, the school will be securable so that no one will need to go past this line to get into the school. So restrooms and all of those things are available to people for music presentations and things like that. The second floor is really just classrooms. So in terms of this, we have second grade, third grade, fourth grade clusters, art and STEAM. STEAM really at this point is a flexible classroom. So it's a classroom that has extra power, extra data, has the space to be used in a number of different ways. Its main defining feature, which is unglamorous, has a lot to do with project-based learning, is it has a substantial storage room associated with it. And so when you have kids, when you have involved somebody doing a project, very rarely does the project get done in one class session. And so the ability for teachers to use this as an extra space and be able to store projects while they're being worked on is an important part of that. The lobby with the stair and the elevator looking down into the front entry area, and then the fifth grade along with the stairs back down to the big box area. And so really, in terms of the layout and the size of the spaces and things like that, there's been very little changes since the last time around. The look of the school is very similar. I do have some samples that I'm going to wheel around for you. It's unlike interior finished materials. The exterior finished materials are really heavy, so when we try to glue them to these boards, they kind of fall off. So I'll be wheeling around samples, but essentially a red brick building with blue glazed concrete masonry unit highlights. And then we are the exterior roof as a base bid, kind of the lower cost option is shingles, the composition shingles that you have on your other schools. We are bidding it with a standing seam metal roofing option in hopes that we can get a longer lived building system there. In either case, we expect it to make it to the modernization threshold, the 30-year, the lifetime of 30 years where the state matching funds would kick in again to take care of it. The standing seam metal roof is just longer lived, and you wouldn't necessarily be needing to spend money at that point. Go ahead. So this is zoomed in on the entry. So we have, again, the red brick, a very subtle basket weave pattern in this panel between the windows, and the glazed CMU running through an accent. There's some other panels that go up high. There's metal panels up higher than that. Metal panels are very cost effective. They still get the bright color. They're pre-finished, so it's not something that you end up painting any more often than you take care of a standing seam roof. The difficulty with them is down low, they kind of tend to get beat up. They're balls and kids and rocks and things like that. And so we tend to use that as a building material up high where it doesn't get the same kind of touching abuse that something else would. Just another angle, so you can kind of see the vertical accent stripes of the blue glazed face CMU. This is around the back, and so this image starting from the foreground, so you can see that it's actually a very gentle and not a very substantial slope between the actual building terrace down to that lower playground. It saves us a lot of dirt to do that. It would be nice if it was just nice and level. But it is fully disabled accessible. There's a nice, very gentle path down from that level, from the building level down to that. What you're seeing here is, this is the backside of the library. So this is if you go through the front entry and try to come straight out the back, you go through these doors. But this is the library. The library continues on around here. Special ed, 4th grade classrooms. And then this will be the hallway. So the hallway that looks down into the lobby on the interior side looks out to the west, to that beautiful view. That's the first shot that you saw in our presentation. So I'm going to actually breeze through this because I have actual samples and then one more. And so then this is the interior. And so I understand now officially we have a mascot. Joe knows the Latin name, but I know it by the kestrel. So the Caniac kestrels, and I was very happy to, and I admit that we did try to stuff the ballot box. All of the residents in Pullman from Design West sent in our belief why we thought the kestrel was a great choice. I do still believe it is a great choice. It's a key that brought us the color scheme that you can see in these more extended color boards that we have up here. But I'm excited about it because it has the contextual basis of something from the Palouse, and it really brought us a color palette that's unique and special to this school. And so it's something that it's not just primary colors, it's not the kind of earth tone, Palouse palette that is beautiful, but not necessarily what you want in an elementary school. And so it has some excitement, and then at the same time some sophistication and layers of interest that hopefully will capture the kids' attention. So, papers.
By the way, to go on record, I do not know the genus and species of the kestrel. However, I believe Dr. Maxwell does know that.
Oh, Joe, we went over this before.
I know. I forgot.
It's out actually in the Falcon.
I didn't do very well in taxonomy.
Bob must have. I'm sorry. I gave credit where credit was not due. Yeah. So in terms of what you've seen in the renderings and the pictures of the building that we've generated, sometimes it's difficult to get a sense for what the actual materials are. And so to make sure that we have an understanding of what we're looking at, the reds to orange brick is what we're looking at. And I will say that the inspiration there is probably from the WSU, kind of that sort of level of brick. The Palouse is a great place where there's any number of native bricks. Up by Micah, there's one of the best brickyards in the whole world. Mutual Materials makes great brick. So the high school's brick range is local to the Palouse as well. But these are all bricks that are made 60 miles, 70 miles away from here. And then so what we're looking at in this is to try to introduce some color into the exterior. You can see it's a concrete block. It's colloquially known as a cinder block with a glazed face. And so this should be easily as durable, possibly more durable than a brick masonry, but it introduces that color that we were looking for. There are some portions of the gym, some of the larger panels of the gym, and I apologize, this is such a small piece, but it is kind of a background khaki split face concrete block color. And so...
And this rough? This
Yes.
kind of a surface? All right, good.
And then the other two window frames in the, very similar to the window, do you need to bring a sample? I could have just typed it right here. So the aluminum color window frames, this would be the metal panel.
Oh, wow.
So just a blue that matches those blues, and so it'll continue on with
Sorry, I
that.
can
And then this last one, the composition shingles would be in this color range too. If we are getting standing seam, it would be in this kind of background, fairly muted, natural tone, nothing bright or shiny in terms of the roof. With that, that's the design briefing. What we are seeking from the board is, one, any questions that you have about the design or the materials that we have predicted for the building, and comments or input.
You want to mention anything about the expanded interior color boards?
So these actually don't differ materially from the preliminary board that you saw here. There's a little bit more information in terms of where the materials are used and a little bit more expanded in this. So I would be happy to discuss this at as great a length as you would wish to. I also want to be respectful of your time. This is not as important as pantries. But these are the color range that really kind of expands into what the floor patterns are and what the colors are. One of the things, I guess, Joe started this. I don't run, what did you say, you run hot? You run, I don't do that, I just,
More like a diesel, just
He gets good mileage.
Perfect, yeah.
Cold start in the morning, though.
So one of the things in terms of the color is we are trying to increase wayfinding or help with wayfinding with the students. And so each one of these classroom clusters, each one of them has a color. And so as you go down the hallway and you're telling in this case, this is the fourth graders, your room's going to be at the green node. So the accent colors in the floor and the colors are going to be that way. So as you walk down the hallway, each one of those locations is going to be color cubed to something to reinforce that. And so that's really the big design move there. It is an exciting, dynamic mix of colors. I've already pitched that. I think the patterns and the way that they reinforce the way the building is organized will echo that as well.
Okay, fun. So I'd like to start by asking, does any board member have any questions for Ned?
They do. So Ned, are we going to use all three of the?
We are, and that's one of the things that's in both cases. It's not necessarily the best example to explain looking out this window because those are very dramatically different colors that were used in this blend. We could go with a single color. What happens is it tends to make the oddball bricks, and inevitably it's a natural material, and so the oddball bricks, they tend to jump out at you. And so if you look at a WSU building or a U of I building, they're actually a blend. And so there's kind of a subtle differentiation. So when you see it on the board right here, you say, wow, those are really different. When you see about a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 just random blend, it really kind of just evens out into a nice color texture. And so yes, the intent is in both cases with the blue and the brick, it would be a random color texture just to give it a little bit more depth and even out the.
And those would also be used for your basket weave?
Yeah, the basket weave actually there, we would go to a single color and it would be these two. And so what would happen is and so it's not going to be real bright, but it will call enough attention to the checkerboard that you'll see it a little bit more. So it's not really in your face, but it does kind of even it out.
Awesome.
Are there any other questions from the board? No? Okay. In that case, Ned, stay close by. Since we're talking about moving this to an action item, but the public has not had a chance to comment. So at this time, if anyone would like to ask a question or comment, we would do this the correct way, which is to go to the podium and state your name and address and then ask your question or make your comment. Just this would give us a chance to hear that the correct way. So would anyone like to comment on this item? Yes, please.
My name is Meg Galnick, 1510 Northwest Arcadia Drive. So can you scroll back to the back side of Kamiak?
Right there?
Yes. So is that green part right there, are those stairs? Or?
It's a slope.
Okay, so it's just going to be a
grass
slope?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, because I have a child with a vision issue, depth perception. So I thought if those were all stairs, that'd be actually quite difficult for him to manage that. But if it's just a slope.
That's the way that the computer
Okay.
renders that. So
Okay,
it
great.
will just be a gentle slope, much the same as Lincoln.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So but you're going to have stairs too, or?
Yeah, there is stairs, and so this is just, we go back to the site plan. Back. So what we were looking at was this view right here. So there's a set of stairs if you come straight out this way. Most of, well, not most, but some of the flow to the playground is actually going to be coming from the cafeteria. So you get done with lunch, and you'll actually come down a very gentle slope. So where it takes 5 feet to get down here in the space of 25 to 30 feet, this is a very gentle slope to get down into that. And so for disabled people, this is going to be it won't even feel like a ramp. Get you down to that level, and then it ramps back up, kind of that same gentle slope back up to this level. But there is a set of stairs here, but I expect a lot of the traffic onto the playgrounds are going to be coming from these doors or the classrooms coming out this way. Likewise, for kids to get down, if you're in a wheelchair, this is a very gentle, all-weather paved path from this terrace all the way down here. So those of you who are planning your bike rides for the future, you really won't want to ride up Terraview. This is going to be a very, very steep section of Terraview right here. And so you'll want to actually wind your way up this way. It'll be a much, much gentler at 5%. It's like riding your bike out of Troy. It's steep, but not really steep.
Okay.
Linda Sagan, 1005 Eden Drive. So recess is really important to me. I understand lunch recess, but when you have recess afternoon for the second floor kids, do they funnel through one set of stairs in the middle there? Or, because that's important, every minute is important.
I'm sorry.
Right here.
So, yeah.
There are stairs here, here, and here. And so if you're in fourth, third, second, you'll likely split and go either way. You won't be going past any other classrooms except the ones just shared on your hall.
Got it.
So we won't be directing kids. Kindergarten is actually going to be one of the quieter spots in the school because most of the people that are headed to kind of the core of the school will be using these stairs. If you're going to lunch, you're going to PE, you'll use these stairs. If you're going to playground, you'll probably be using these stairs. And so, to the greatest degree possible, we have a lot of vertical options that get you right out of school. You don't end up going back by other classrooms to do that.
And then since you have 2 floors and it looks like there's a lot of how much room between the classrooms, like let's say the 4th grade, and I know like sometimes kids get pulled out to have special attention. Is there space?
That's one of the things I'm most excited about this design is for each one of these 4 classrooms, we have 2 breakout spaces or pull-out spaces.
Awesome.
Floor-to-ceiling glass looking out, so you have an exterior view. It is open to the hallway, but unlike Jefferson, unlike Franklin, Sunnyside really doesn't even have this feature. The pull-out spaces are off the hallway far enough that it's still informal, it's still flexible, but you're not having every person who walks by interrupting the educational process.
Because as we meet the needs of you know, the ones that need extra help. That's important to me
I think
okay.
this layout right now, you have the general classroom, you have the pull-out option, you have ELL, you have special ed. There's so many different layers and settings for kids to get education in this arrangement. I think it's something that you can see a lot of these things in all the other schools in Pullman. And admittedly I'm biased, but I think this is the one where we've actually taken some of those ideas and taken them a little bit farther and made the spaces better so that they'll work better that way. The pull-out spaces I'm most excited
Yep,
about.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Come on up.
My name is Jamie Reiber, and I live at 2251 Halpin Road. And looking at this space, two things kind of came to mind. One, you have a really long runway. When you have children, runways are for running. If you look at our other elementary schools, you'll find that the tile pattern also leads for hopping. So I think when you get to the final draft thing, realize you've got a runway and you can use your tile patterns to either encourage them to go in a pattern or to hop that way. So that's one thing that didn't get discovered until buildings were done before, that creates a lot of difficulty. But I also look at this space, I'm wondering, and this is more specific, you've got a kindergarten area, you've got a first grade area, those middle sections, where are sinks and water faucets so that students can get access to water or for teachers to use them for?
So in each classroom, there is a common set of casework that involves a sink with a bubbler, a drinking fountain in the classroom, storage, flat tile storage, wardrobe storage, and then the teaching wall, which is similar to Franklin and Jefferson and those. So that arrangement is similar. Kindergarten is the one cluster that's a little different than the rest in that it actually has restrooms directly off of those classrooms.
Okay.
So once the kindergartner gets into that space, they have a restroom, they have a pull-out space that actually is not open to the hall. It does have a nice exterior window, but it's not open to the hall. And so the kindergarten is a self-contained room.
Okay.
A kid gets in there and they'll spend their time in that suite until they go out to recess, or if they're going to one of the special classes.
So the other restrooms?
The other restrooms are in clusters here and here, both up and down. And so first graders will come down to this, and then this is a special events one. Directly above it is for fifth graders, and then this one is centered in the second, third, and fourth graders.
Okay, those might have been more specific than you were looking for, but just curious.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Amy, come on up.
I'm Amy Honeywell, 1215 Northwest Orion Drive. And I just wanted to comment that the high school did such a great job. But when I asked Paul Storm, is there air conditioning? He said, not really. I love the big fans and everything, but I did get to go to the concert the other night, and the concert hall was almost too cold. It was so awesome. So I was so happy because when we were in there last May, the building wasn't complete and it was a little stuffy. So that was great. So I'm wondering about this since it's 2 levels. The elementary schools, especially Jefferson on the wings, I mean, they're so uncomfortable. What's going to happen here and what? Okay, thank you. I'm sure all the teachers will be so happy.
Well, the difficulty is, yes, all the teachers in this school will be so happy.
Jenny Fluter, Harder, 1515 Southwest Casey Court. Okay, so if we could scroll back up to the back playground area, one thing that I know a lot of the schools, especially Sunnyside, which was kind of the first on the list, the exits and entrances get really glommed up when people are coming and going, and I wasn't sure if people were expected to run down the slope or if there were going to be like some access stairs to the playground.
There is, and that image right there is actually lacking a set of stairs.
Okay, good.
a year and a half from now when this photograph gets taken, there is a set of stairs that comes down right there.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question, is that maybe there could be 2 sets of stairs, so there could be like the kids who are racing to get out, of course they're walking safely, obviously, but maybe there could be the down staircase and the up staircase for transitional times between lunch switches.
So it is a wider staircase.
That's cool, too.
It's hallway width.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that satisfies your concern or not, but
It's pretty good, it's pretty good, yeah.
it's the width of what it feeds.
I just know that, well, it's recess!
It's really exciting. All right. Are there any more questions and comments from the public? Going once, twice? Okay. Jim?
Ned, going along with the stairwell, getting down that 5-foot slope, will there be guardrails in along the rest?
No, there's not guardrails along the rest. I think that image and some of the ways that I describe it make it sound like it's more abrupt than it is. It's a gentle, mowable.
So the kids can go up and down the slope.
Yeah, if you think of Lincoln, it's really that same slope to go from the playground. It's not even that extensive. Lincoln, you're losing about 20 feet. We're about a quarter of that height, but at that same slope. So it's a gentle grass slope. In a few locations, it's even more gentle and it's paved to allow for the disabled accessibility. And then the stairs, we're trying to get, inevitably there might be a cow path or two, depending on how that develops, but the stairs are intended that they have a non-muddy way to get up and down.
Okay.
The added benefit, Joe didn't even egg me on this time, is one of the things is that we don't really have a playground directly against a classroom window. So between the walking path that goes all the way around right up against the windows but wouldn't be intended for play, and then that grass slope, we're moving all the activity 40 to 50 feet away from the classroom windows. So even if you're you want to be in those windows because that's a beautiful Palouse view, but you won't have the disruption of having kids bouncing balls off your windows or kids being distracted by watching their friends out at recess.
Yeah. Thank you.
If we had the luxury of time, we wouldn't put in any paths. We'd wait until the kids told us where the paths were supposed to be.
That's
But
right.
we don't have the luxury to do that.
When Emporia State built a new campus, that's what they did the year after. They
waited to see where everyone walked.
And then they did their paths.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments? Oh, come on, Marie.
I'm Marie Wallace. I live at 410 Northwest Webb Street, and I apologize. I came in late. I recognize you from working on the committee, but I just a question: is the washer and dryer room or area where that in the new school, is it not in a classroom?
It's not in a classroom.
Perfect. I was really worried about that because right now it is.
That message came in loud and clear. What was interesting though was that the person who drew the short stick was the janitor. And so if we go up one more.
You want to go up one more? First
so
floor.
there's kind of a building service room right here that includes storage and things like that. And so there's a janitor sink and a washer and dryer and that sort of thing in this larger room. And so special ed didn't want it, the nurse didn't want it, everybody wanted a washer and dryer, but nobody wanted it to be in their space.
But I think our janitors wouldn't think it was the short end of the stick because they can't even wash their janitor rags in the middle of the day. So yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you.
Good. All right, come on. Yeah. The reason I'm wanting all this now is because we want to act on this tonight, so we do need to hear all the public input there is. So.
My name is Diane Hathaway. I live at 525 Northwest Darrow. I'm coming as a parent. I teach in the district, but my question is regarding soundfield systems. When the high school was being built, I came with concerns. I have a child who's hearing impaired. He's not the only child in the district with those needs. And just to be able to get it on public record, I would really, really appreciate if the sound field systems in the elementary building, I don't know if you consult specialists in that area, include the wiring for dynamic sound systems with a hearing impaired person in mind receiving it. Okay, cool, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? All right.
The questions are awesome.
Yeah, the questions
Thank you
actually
all.
have been so good.
Yeah.
I have learned more about the building as a result of some of
Yeah.
these questions, so that's
great.
really fantastic. And Ned, it gives you an opportunity to show off your fine work, so.
I appreciate it as well. Sometimes just Joe egging me on isn't
I know.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The second water station. Since we're putting in sinks and we want to be proactive with the environment and stuff, will we have any area where we can have water stations like we do at the middle school and the high school?
Water bottle filling.
Yeah, the bottle.
So in each one of the classrooms, we have the bubbler that
Yeah.
kind of need the old-fashioned drink at the sink sort of thing. And then on each floor at the restrooms, there's a water cooler that does have the bottle filling station
Awesome.
associated with it.
Yes.
So have that here, and then again upstairs, we have 2 more of those.
You're coming across like a hero tonight.
That's crazy.
Things that we don't have.
A lot of fun.
We had a lot of
Remember
input.
this, because there may be a time that's not the case.
He would
Write
like
this
that, he would
down.
like that reflected in the minutes.
Yeah. Ned did okay. Yeah.
Okay, this works.
All right,
Okay.
if there's nobody else, I will move that we move this item to an action item.
Okay,
Tonight.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move this item, which is the authorization to proceed to bid, from a discussion item to an action item this evening. Is there any discussion of that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? All right, so this item is now an action item. So now I would entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the recommendation to proceed to bid on the Kamiak Elementary construction project.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve an authorization to proceed to bid. Any discussion of that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is approved as well.
Exciting day.
All right. Thank you, Ned, as always.
Thank you.
And can we wheel these maybe over to the side so if anybody wants to examine them as they leave, but of course, don't take them, but.
And Ned's going to leave those behind, and I'll gather them
Okay.
up at the end of the meeting.
Jenny, you can just sit there.
I know, I'm going to, I really like these. Let's me what else I can use them for in the building.
All right, so next we have our Executive Director of Operations, Joe Thornton, again. Presenting summer activities.
And even less exciting than constructability, we are required every year with our insurance carrier, Clear Risk Solutions, to tell them what we're going to be doing as far as student activities for the summer. So in the board packet is a collection of activities for both for Pullman High School and Lincoln Middle School, which is a plan for what people are going to be doing with activities and athletics for the summer. Just for your information, make note that with the exception of the weight room, which is open, and people can time slip for that. Very few of them do, but some people can, because that's an everyday thing all summer long. All these coaches do this for free. It's part of what they do as a coach, you know. Yes, they get a stipend during the year, but that's to really cover their hours during the school year. This is stuff they do because they love coaching. They love working with kids, and they know if their programs are going to be competitive, they need to do this. So in your packet are those programs, and this does not need to be an action item tonight. You can approve at the next board meeting. Any questions?
I have none.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have our Assistant Superintendent, Roberta Kramer, presenting on the sports medicine textbook adoption. One of the more expensive textbooks we have adopted, I must say.
So as I've shared with you in the past, textbook adoptions are required action by our board of directors. our sports medicine course is new for next year, and so therefore we need to have a new text adopted. The Curriculum Advisory Committee has approved this text. The Sports Medicine Community Advisory Committee, which is a requirement for our career and technical education courses, has approved the text, and the text was made available for community review on May 18th and 19th. Bob, if you want to go to the PowerPoint. Much of what I've already said is in the PowerPoint, but. So you can go to the next, okay, right, we'll go back to about.
Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to use this because it's starting to go out of kill. There we
Okay,
go.
so the need is related to the course that we've already approved, so we can go to the next. So similar to other textbooks that I brought to you this year, we have a process, and we start with the whole idea of looking at the state career and technical education frameworks, and also consider best practices, and then we align that to our materials, and that's what's happened with this particular course. So, as you know, the new course came about really around student interest and our interest in presenting options that might be around the healthcare field, knowing that that's such a need in our world. And so given that it was a course that was new, we don't have a teacher for it, our administrators reviewed options, took a look at what are other high schools that are offering the course, what are they using. The bias screening was conducted just like with other materials. CAC reviewed it, and pending the opportunity for community review, of course, we didn't want to not have that caveat in there because we believe that our community needs to have the opportunity to review materials, and also that the Sports Medicine Citizens Advisory Committee will look at it. So both steps have occurred. As always, we use the same rubric, and and then that gets us to the point of being here. Going to the next. So this is the text. This text is what I have before you is the 15th edition. The text is expensive, and the reason that it's expensive is because it's a college course textbook, similar to French 3 that I brought to you. And so that makes it a little bit pricier, and they keep revising it. But what we've found in our study of the text is what they typically revise is the cover. But the content has not changed significantly. And so if we'll go to the next one. So you see the budget. By purchasing the 16th edition, and this one is not even the 16th, this is the 15th that I have for you tonight. But if we were to purchase all new textbooks, they're $220 a piece. So part of it is, I'm coming to you with a high estimate, but we will make a decision about whether or not, based on the CTE budget and on curricular materials budgets, whether or not to, which ones we will purchase. But you can see we're going to have 2 class sets is our goal. And the content really isn't that different. And I think actually if I had the principal right here with me tonight, he would say, Roberta, we're going to get 2 of the new ones and 68 of the older versions because there isn't any difference. So we'll probably go about half the price is probably where we'll land. And I think, so questions about it?
No, I'm just really excited about the course. I've said that before when we approved it, and that it segues into college material. And I think for the public, it's the knowledge that we've really looked at it. It's much more than athletic training. It's just that athletic training provides the focus for a generalized introduction to health careers and so on. But,
exactly.
And it will give, as several of our cohort schools are already doing, an opportunity for our students to work directly with physical therapists and doctors that are on the advisory committee, like Dr. Kingstad and so on. And it will continue a trend of us being early involved with WSU around concussions and concussion management, which is very much in the public's concern right now. And with direct contact with that material is going to be outstanding.
So, have you want to take a look at it? I know.
Roberta, I have a question about the, so you mentioned there's a Citizens Advisory Committee that relates to CTE courses.
For every CTE course or content area?
Content area.
Yeah.
So there is a Citizens Advisory Committee for like the video production
Yes.
area and so.
And one for agricultural science.
Okay.
And, yeah, business communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we ever know who those people are? Because I haven't.
Actually, tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with Chris Franklin, so that for next year, we can share that information. And then what we're also going to create is an umbrella advisory that's an advisory to the entire career and technical education
I think
program.
that would be really helpful, not only for the board, but for the community
Yes.
to understand what role the Citizens Advisory.
Yeah, because it's very comprehensive. They have to
Yeah.
approve any of the frameworks, any course changes, anything requires those people that are working in that field to be a part of that conversation.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else from the board have any questions?
Roberta, could you remind me about the target student population? Is it freshman through senior or just upper level?
It's going to be, for next year, I think we will target our juniors and seniors, but certainly our plan would be to extend that and to begin to really look at a biomedical sciences opportunity for our kids, with this being one of the opportunities in that.
So would there be a sports medicine 1 and sports medicine 2?
That's what we anticipate.
Okay.
I think some of our, and then to look at the Project Lead the Way biomedical sciences opportunities as well. So we're excited about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to stay up here.
All right, well, next you will have the pleasure of telling us about the LMS and PHS course offerings.
Included in your packet, and Bob, you don't need to go into each one if you don't want to, but were the course guides for next school year related to our courses that we offer here at the high school and also at Lincoln Middle School. There were no changes to the Lincoln Middle School course offerings, but as you know, we made some changes here at the high school, and those are included in the executive summary. And if you remember, 3D animation will not be offered every year. That will go on an alternating basis with advanced video production.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Well then, would you care to present Bridge to College, English 12?
So you heard from Danielle tonight, who spoke with great passion about the class, and she came in and talked with us I think it was last week at our Curriculum Advisory Committee, and she talked for about an hour about the course, and it was really fun to hear it from her perspective as a teacher, but also she shared the survey results from the kids, and really having that student voice to why the course worked or didn't work for them was really important in our conversation as a Curriculum Advisory Committee. So based on the framework that's been well established, and you saw in the packet, the standards are well identified. It's a very comprehensive course. The power of the course, I think, is really that piece of, it removes that barrier for kids when they go to college of having to take that remedial English course. If they're successful here, our state universities and community colleges have agreed to accept that as evidence that kids can go straight into the course, and that's very, very powerful for kids, and I think it is economically for families that's a great thing, because you don't get credit for the remedial courses, and you have to pay for them. So I think that's a really important component. So you heard from her. We've, at CAC, we've had in-depth conversation about the course, and so I bring it to you tonight to consider for our next board meeting as a course that we would offer at Pullman High School.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions about that? All right. Well, that concludes our discussion items for this evening. We do have a couple informational items on the agenda, and then at this time, if there are no objections, we will recess into a closed session that will last how long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes for the purpose of discussing property and negotiations. No action will be taken, and then the meeting will adjourn after that. So, we are now recessed.
If anyone, I know.